Secretary of the Treasury Janet Yellen appeared before a Senate Finance Committee in March to testify about Joe Biden's $6.8 trillion budget. The most explosive part of the testimony came when Senator Bill Cassidy, Republican out of Louisiana, began his line of questioning about President Biden's failure to address Social Security's impending insolvency in his recent budget. Let's see how things started out.
The president keeps saying he does not wish to have cuts in social. Is he aware that under current law, when the program goes broke in 9 years, that there will be a 24% benefit cut for those who are current recipients? Is he aware of that?
Well, it's clear that Social Security...
But is he, I apologize for interruption, but I have limited time. Is the president aware that when social goes broke in 9 years, under current law, there's a 24% cut in benefits for people who are currently receiving?
If we don't do anything about it, I think that's about right. But
okay, let me ask.
The president will wants to strengthen Social Security.
Okay, so here Senator Cassidy is talking about the Social Security Trust Fund. Over the years, Social Security had more money coming in than it had going out, so there was a surplus that went into a rainy day account called the Social Security Trust Fund. Senator Cassidy points out that that rainy day fund goes broke in 9 years, at which point all benefits would have to be paid out of incoming revenues. Because of that, all Social Security recipients would receive a 24% across the board cut in benefits. Let's keep listening.
$1 trillion of taxes the president has proposed. Are any of those taxes going to shore up Social Security? I actually know that answer. The answer is of the $4.5 trillion in taxes he has proposed, not a dime is going to shore up Social Security.
The senator brings up a good point. Joe Biden's budget calls for $4.5 trillion in new taxes over the next decade. Wonderful, you may be thinking. Someone's finally making some tough decisions on how to shore up the nation's entitlement programs. Not so, because none of those tax increases are earmarked towards fixing the gaping hole in Social Security and other entitlement programs. Let's keep listening.
Does the president know personally anybody who is dependent upon Social Security, and if their benefits are cut by 24%, they will slide into poverty? It's hard for you to know, so I'll give you a pass on that.
The president knows many people on Social Security.
Then why doesn't the president care?
He cares very deeply.
Then where is his plan?
He stands ready to work with
That's
Congress
a lie,
to address.
because when a bipartisan group of senators has repeatedly requested to meet with him about social, so that somebody who is a current beneficiary will not see her benefits cut by 24%, we have not heard anything on our request. And we've made multiple requests to meet with the president. Now, you can't comment on that, I realize that, but that is a fact. And if you've been told to say he stands ready to meet, I will tell you there's absolutely no evidence because we have not gotten our meeting.
Okay, let me summarize. Social Security will undergo massive cuts in 9 short years, and Joe Biden just rolled out his budget that did absolutely nothing to fix it. When pressed on whether Joe Biden cares about Social Security, Janet Yellen says he's ready to meet with anybody to discuss it. And that's when Senator Cassidy pounces. You see, Senator Cassidy is a member of a bipartisan committee that has repeatedly attempted to meet with Joe Biden on reforming Social Security and has been rebuffed at every turn. You can start to see why he has a bit of a chip on his shoulder. Let's continue.
The president in the past has proposed increasing taxes on those making over $400,000 to pay for it. Although he's not made that formally, he has said that in the past. Now, he's also proposed to tax them more to pay for Medicare and also to close the debt and deficit. So what would the rates have to be on that 2% of Americans who earn over $400K in order to do Medicare, the debt and deficit, and also to address our 75-year shortfall in Social Security? Do you have any sense of what the rates would have to be?
Well, he has proposed explicit increases in tax rates on very high income.
But do you think it's realistic that he can pay for Medicare, debt and deficit, and also address a 75% shortfall in social, a 75-year shortfall in social, by only taxing, the only thing he's going to do is to lay higher taxes on those who make more than 2%. I'm sure there's a projection of how much those rates would have to be. Can you tell us what those rates would have to be to do everything he is saying?
I can't tell you that, but I do know that he's put on the table many proposals that would raise very substantial revenues.
The reason Secretary Yellen is so loath to answer this question is because to put our nation on a sustainable path, tax rates would have to rise to absurdly impractical levels. According to the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget led by Maya McGinnis, taxes on any dollar earned above $400,000 would have to go all the way up to 102%. And since nobody's willing to work for nothing, they changed the calculus. They lowered that amount down to $250,000 and concluded that any dollar earned above that amount would have to be taxed at 90%. Can you start to see why the conversation is veering into extremely thorny territory? Now, in the next section, Senator Cassidy really starts to move in for the kill. He begins talking about the implications of doing nothing. Let's keep listening.
If we doubled our debt to GDP ratio, just theoretically, if you will, and aside from our conversation, if we double that GDP to debt ratio, what effect would that have on the economy?
So right now and in the president's budget proposal,
Now, I asked you just the theoretical independently of the budget proposal.
if we were to double the debt to GDP ratio,
Yes.
I don't see why we would need
But
to
if we
double.
did, just you're an economist, if we did, what would be the effect upon the economy?
Well, it would tend to raise net interest costs.
Would it be a negative effect on the economy? Of course it would be.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, of course it would be. We've actually modeled this. For the president to do nothing, let's assume that we cast aside current law and we just double the national debt, and that's what it would do. It would have a devastating effect upon the economy. CBO says they cannot model the deleterious effects that would occur because of that. So we have a situation where the president has not proposed a single plan. He has turned down multiple requests for meetings with senators, and our options are a 24% cut on a person currently receiving, doubling our national debt, which CBO says cannot be modeled, and you agree that would be a deleterious effect. And he's not modeled the tax rates that would be required if he just wants to raise taxes.
Okay, let's summarize what the senator is saying. We could do nothing, and all Social Security recipients get a 24% cut in their benefits. We could keep borrowing money, which is basically the status quo, and that would double the debt in the short term and hamstring the economy to the point where the CBO can't even model the deleterious implications. And finally, the senator points out that the Biden administration hasn't even modeled how high taxes would have to go to keep all these programs solvent. And Biden's rebuffed numerous attempts by a bipartisan cadre of senators to put a sustainable plan into place. Okay, let's see how the exchange ends.
The president is committed to Social Security. He stands ready to work with Congress, and he's put on
I'm out of time. I don't mean to be rude, but since I've had multiple requests on a bipartisan basis to meet with him and he's turned everyone down, that rings hollow.
Once again, Senator Yellen says that President Biden is prepared to meet with Congress to fix the problem, yet he's rebuffed every attempt they've made to meet. You can see how Senator Cassidy feels like this offer rings hollow. All right, let's talk about the deeper implications of this exchange. There are generally, at any given moment, honest, well-meaning politicians on both sides of the aisle who love our country, want to see it prosper, and who are willing to make tough decisions in order to do so. But unfortunately, many politicians, including Joe Biden and Donald Trump before him, are not willing to make any tough decisions for fear of alienating a portion of the electorate. Getting elected, unfortunately, is the first priority, even if it means that critical social safety nets go broke in the meantime. Again, this is a bipartisan problem. No political party is immune to it. But this exchange also underscores another important truth. Joe Biden seems to be taking a kick the can down the road approach to fixing Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And every year that goes by where he fails to do so, the national debt continues to grow and compound. We will soon reach a point where the cost of servicing the national debt will necessitate a dramatic increase in tax rates. In fact, former Comptroller General of the federal government, David Walker, says they'll have to double by 2030 to keep our country solvent. This is bad news for Americans who have done the lion's share of their retirement savings in tax-deferred accounts such as 401ks and IRAs. It's never been more critical that you lay out a plan to get those tax-deferred savings repositioned to tax-free accounts like Roth IRAs. Do it while tax rates are historically low, so that by the time taxes do rise precipitously, you've done all the heavy lifting and then take those dollars out 100% tax-free. If you want to learn how to protect your retirement savings from dramatically higher taxes in the future, be sure to check out my tax-free toolkit. You can download it for free at taxfreetoolkit.com. If you're a financial professional and want to learn how to become a certified Power of Zero advisor, head over to powerzero.com and opt into my free 3-part video series. By the way, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to drop them into the comments section below. I respond to every single one of them personally. And don't forget to click like, subscribe, and the bell so you never miss a video. This is David McKnight. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.